What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Release Valve. I am your host, Sean Hanlin, and today's guest, I am lucky to have a certified life coach, motivational speaker, and author of some really cool empowerment books such as I Deserve It and Drama Detox. She uses a powerful blend of direct coaching, intuition, and astrology to help people break through the limitations and fears blocking them from their best life. It is my pleasure to introduce Daune Thompson. Welcome to The Release Valve, Daune.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate it. I'm very excited about this. I started paying attention to you a little while ago, and the more I feel like I dove into what you're doing and the message that you're putting out there, the work that you're doing, I have to get her on this show. This is so cool. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
So, to get started, one of the first things that really stood out to me was you call yourself a soul CEO activator. I think that's such a cool title in and of itself, but what does that mean for you, and when did that become a part of your identity?
You know what's so funny is it became an identity at the end. What it really means is just I help people stop managing their patterns and start leading their lives on purpose or authentically, right? And people struggle with, well, how do I live authentically? And when you kind of jumped into this a little bit about you bringing the body, mind, and spirit kind of into things, and that's how I look at things, right? Like body is anything you can touch, so things, thoughts, and truth, right? Things are a car, a body, a health, whatever you want it to be, money, and then our thoughts that we think, and the truth is our soul, right? Our soul knows the truth, but we like to avoid that higher truth, that knowing truth, right? And so most live from our bodies and their minds and not their soul. And so I started I'm probably dating myself, but way back when I started have a science degree in kinesiology and physiology. I wanted to be a doctor, and luckily I couldn't pass chemistry to get through those final testing, which it was a blessing because I would have broke all the rules and got kicked out anyway. So this was a good thing, right? So, you don't know till you know later, and then you're like, okay. And so, starting in the health industry with physiology and kinesiology, like I knew the body and I knew how well it worked. But what I found quickly was the body wouldn't change until the mind's thoughts changed. And then I found that your soul blueprint is the fastest way to interpret both. And it was a long journey, right, to get here because I was, in the health industry for a while. But I've always been this person who realized that the parts equal more than the whole, right? And so as a child, I would crack open rocks, with a hammer and get in trouble. Like, you can't be doing this, but there were crystals inside. And then, in college, anatomy and physiology, and you're in these bodies, and you're like, wow, all that's going on inside of this. And then you get into the mind. And then it kind of all came together, basically just trying to help people understand. My mission's kind of evolved into showing others how to live from their soul's blueprint, or we have a user's manual, right? We have a user's manual. People are like, I don't know how life works. I'm like, you have a user's manual to live the physical reality they want. And that user's manual for me was astrology, right? I don't really look at it like, let's tell your future, let's tell the tea leaves. That's just not really my personality. I mean, a lot of amazing astrologers out there who do that kind of work. That's fabulous. But I've been in corporate executive coaching and training most of my life. And so, it was woo-woo back in the day. Now it's spiritual is a very big topic, right? But I would sneak it. So I would always ask, like, I need to run your chart. You don't need to know anything about it. We never have to speak of it again. I just need your information. I need to see you because I could see their soul. And a lot of times it would be someone would hire me to go, look, my sales manager is not doing well. My accountant, the head chef is not doing well, or whatever. And it was never the fact that they're not good at accounting. It was that there was a divorce. There was some emotional avoidance. There was, children's issues. There were health issues that they couldn't tap into. And so when you look from your soul, Your soul's like, aha, this is a lesson. This is a lesson you need to learn. There's nothing wrong with you. You're still an amazing accountant. You're still, And so we could validate people so much faster. And for me, I'm just not a big fan. I don't disregard therapy because I think it really is vital for certain people. But I don't think we need 20 years of therapy. I think we need validation now. Like, we need to get validated that you're amazing and you're just missing a couple things that are down below the surface that you just can't see, and I can show it to you fast. It kind of evolved from there, from rocks to science to, oh, here's some spiritual that'll show you how they'll all overlap. So there's my fast version.
Now, I love that because I think you're so right. There's always some sort of underlining thing that's going on that we're completely either consciously ignoring or subconsciously not aware of. And a lot of times, you can almost go too far down the path of trying to unpack all of these other things. And it's usually right there. It's usually right on the surface. Like, know what it is. You're just not looking at, hence the phrase elephant in the room. You're just kind of tiptoeing around it, and you're just not willing to address it, maybe due to the level of discomfort that it brings. People don't like to feel uncomfortable, don't like to feel vulnerable. Maybe it makes them feel less of a man or woman, or, whatever, a parent, mother, father, whatever your title is. You feel insufficient in that regard, maybe. Is that something that you come across a lot?
100%. And which is why I've created very simplified systems to see it fast. And so I call it, I kind of have 3 steps. Like, you've got to look at 3 different versions of yourself. And first you got to look at your BS. Now, it's actually referenced to the 4 Bs in a birth chart, which is your blocks, your boulders, your bruises, and your breakthroughs. And I call them hotspots because what you said it so brilliantly, like, we avoid them and they're uncomfortable, and if I get too close it might burn me, and so we turn away, and then it becomes a blind spot that we don't even notice. And then that pattern that we're avoiding, because it's a master lesson, right? We're here to master that. And whatever that is, I call karma. People kind of have this trendy version of karma. Karma is completion, right? You came here to complete some sort of lesson and master it, and then the karma drops you. You don't really need to clear the karma, there's no karma like that, right? Right. And so by not avoiding these flames, or what they feel like flames, and walking into the fire, they're no longer blind spots, and they quit blindsiding you every time and then blaming the outside world like they did it, people, places, circumstances, it was their fault. And so those 4 Bs are kind of your BS, right? Like, if we could stop avoiding the BS you actually came to master, that's the first step, ownership, right? And then my second step is when you step into authenticity of who you are, your soul. And you kind of hear a lot of this trendy. I'm kind of like a trend breaker because we get too trendy and then we get lost and it doesn't work. Right. And I'm like, it doesn't work because raising your frequency, they're like, well, what does that mean? It means be authentic. Like, live from your soul, not from what the world tells you. This is the strategy. Right. This is the template. They typically won't work. And so by seeing your BS, living authentically, and then checking your life once you know who you are. I mean, true deep understanding, because when I hear this, and I shouldn't say it's a negative, Sean, but you hear a lot of, you just need to love yourself. And I call BS on that, right? Because it's less about self-love and it's more about self-understanding. Because I can go get a massage when I'm having a crappy day and feel good for a few hours. Tomorrow, I feel not good again, right? Like, it's the same thing. I can love myself with things. But when you understand your soul, it's like a game changer. And when you're at soul understanding, soul mastery, which is where the chart comes in, right? So I teach it from a perspective of a lighthouse, right? You're a lighthouse, you're the sun in the center. You have 12 categories around that lighthouse, 12 rooms, and 4 of them are typically the ones that are burning. You don't want to go in, right? They're padlocked shut. You're like, I'm not going in there. And when we master all 12 aspects of ourselves, we're less fragmented. We're more understanding, okay, cool, this is why I'm here. This is what I came to learn. This is how I can grow. We step into that third phase of, is it a want or a need? Because most people come from, I need this, right? And need is lack. Need is scarcity. Because if you need something, it means you don't have it. Now, wanting, right? Because I have a lot of very like high achieving, high net worth, very successful clients, and they're like, well, so am I supposed to not want the Ferrari? And I'm like, actually, in your chart, you love cars. Like, I go buy I don't know cars very well, so if that's the car you want or whatever the name, it's probably a good thing for you because you're not over needing it. You just love it. That's a want, right? Or, hey, I want to be a organic farmer, and I feel like I need to be a doctor. Right. And so there's this aspect when we start waking up to ourselves, we start getting authentic, and literally the game changes.
Right.
So you're 100% on the mark. It's like we avoid the BS, we avoid stepping into authentic self. But once you're validated, you can start making more conscious decisions instead of subconscious that are, do I want it or do I need it? And if it's a needed relationships, right? I need you. And I'm like, that's a lack position.
Yep.
Right? Right.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I layer it all from psychology, the psychology of where those hotspots are. And you can take astrology out of it. You can put it right into epigenetics and go into science. And there's an emotional higher gene to the DNA. And that higher gene is very imprinted in your emotional thought patterns until you can see it. We're like, well, I don't know what that is. Okay, we can go to past lives. Well, I'm not very spiritual. I don't believe in that. Okay, then we can go to your lineage and look at your ancestral downloads, and you can see each of those, we'll call it generations, have imprinted that thought pattern or emotional pattern. And you have a blueprint that says you don't have to do that anymore, but you just didn't know you were. Right. So it can be at all levels. You can call it whatever you want, but it's just avoiding our BS.